Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Spiritual Grind. We hope you enjoy it, and don't forget to follow, hit the little bell for your notifications when the podcast is posted, and follow, and share with your friends. We hope you enjoy it. Leave a comment if there's any topics that you want us to speak about.
Like, follow, share.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jenny. Guess what, Dr. Jenny?
What?
We're back in studio for the Spiritual Grind, doing another podcast. We only did one last week.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, we need a spanking.
And then we only did two, and then before that we didn't do any because we were on vacation.
We got to get back in the groove, man.
We do. But this will be the second one this week. No, this will be the first one this week. But anyway, welcome back to the Spiritual Grind, everybody. We are planning life's version of things out. And my topic today is pretty simple because, let's say it's simple. It's something that I see in a lot of people in our environment, including ourselves. And it's, we generally on here will talk about stuff that we're working through.
Yeah.
And one of the things that has been popping into my reality is not allowing my human monkey mind thoughts to control how I act and be. Because, for example, am I being myself, or am I changing away from myself because of what I think people will think or societal top beliefs?
Yeah.
And, I see people change their persona every day based on societal beliefs and fears of what people will think or do or say or be, and we see this a lot, and I think one of the things that I see, one of the things that come to mind is, for example, when I was younger, I had a friend that was way different. You can tell he was a different kind of guy than the norm. And he was perceived as homosexual, but he wasn't, just because of his kind of feminine nature. He was just kind of that feminine guy. And so he started to put on this big man persona and changed because he was fearful of what people and how people were treating him. And, that's just kind of one, that's kind of a major example, but there are minor things that we change and do every day because of a fear of what people will think or say to us.
Right. Or what you touched on most often that I see that's happening is not what people will think of us, but the storyline that we have created in our head of what we think they think.
Or what
us.
we think will happen.
What we think they think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Of us.
And so
when you look at that, these are the questions I would ask. Have I talked to that person?
Right.
To see if that's what they think. That's one of the best ways to squash.
Or why do I think that they will think that?
Right.
And
well, that would be one and two. Number one and two question as I'm researching that for myself.
Yeah.
Is have I talked to them? What do they really think?
Right.
So I can squash the monkey mind lie.
Yeah.
And then, yes, another good question would be, why do I think they think that? Is it because of some previous circumstance or event that I've experienced where that was true, and now I've clumped everybody together and the whole wide world thinks that? And
right.
That is a lie as well. And it will cause you to create a reality and function within that reality in not a true, authentic way.
Right. I have a family member that's...
Why did this come up for you?
Well, about a couple of things.
What happened?
Well, there's just the point in our life where we are of going through what we're going through here, and me presenting that and thinking that they're going to think that I'm crazy. that's, and when all reality is it's obvious what's going on. And so when I present, like when I presented it to the superiors, I was more concerned about what they thought of me than I was just getting the truth out.
Why? What were you afraid would happen?
Don't really know. That's where I'm kind of stuck, actually. Don't really know what the fear is. I'm looking at it and trying to figure it out, or why did I alter who I am? And because I know for what I know, but for some reason, I just won't, I would not be staunch about it. And like yesterday, we talked about being firm or staunch about things, and he was like, we're just not staunch people. And I don't necessarily agree with that firmly. But I have altered who I am within a human issue because of what I think that other people will think. And I don't like that. I don't like being that person. I want to be who I am, and I want to do me, so to speak. I want to do me. And when I alter my presence due to a thought or idea or expectation of how people are going to react, that's not a good, or perception.
Yeah.
That's not a good place to be in, especially afterwards. When you get done, you're like, why did I do that?
Hey.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
How was your coffee this morning?
We didn't tell everybody good morning.
Oh.
We went right into it, man. We just dived right in.
Oh, sorry. I've been waiting.
No, it's all good. I just wanted to tell everybody good morning.
Good morning. Well, I think it's pent up energy because we haven't done a podcast.
Yeah, maybe.
And I have a few subjects in my mind, and this one hit me in the shower again, and I was like, why didn't I just handle this differently? And trying to figure out why I altered my presence. And I don't like doing that because I see people do it all the time. Like, I have a family member, and this is a common topic in the spiritual world. I think it's a common topic amongst many different parameters where people will alter who they are because of what people think or say. And, I have a family member that was homosexual all his life. Everybody knew he was homosexual, but he did not admit it. And then finally, when he did admit it, I asked him one day, why did you wait? Everybody already knew.
What is this homosexual thing coming up? Why do you keep using that as an example?
Because it's just...
Are you trying to tell me something?
No. See, that's exactly what... That's a judgment statement.
No.
Yeah, you are. That's a judgment statement.
Wow. Chill, dude.
I'm not...
I was just playing.
Well,
take it easy.
But anyway, so this scenario, when I asked, why did you wait so long? Everybody already knew. He said, well, it just wasn't okay. And it was kind of like a thought. And these are the thoughts I'm having in the shower. I don't know why these are the topics that are popping in my head and the subjects.
I don't know.
But it is I see it a lot when people, where they change who they are due to the fear of a perception of what everybody's going to think.
Okay.
So how do we handle that situation?
Well, as you well witnessed, it's going to be a case-by-case scenario on where the person is and where they are wanting to go with it and what they can actually be open and receptive to hear and to handle. I mean, you kind of just got to evaluate each individual situation. You obviously are not at a point where we can joke about some topic like that for you because you got very defensive about whatever, and so then you're immediately constricted and not open to being able to really hear anything about it, and you put up a barrier. So it just depends on case by case where you're at. And so if we speak very generally about the topic of changing who you are based on what you think other people think, or based on what you witness other people commenting about it, would be the topic that we talk about just in general. Is that what you're wanting to do? Is that where, I guess,
giving people
I'm just
direction.
trying to get clarity on where you're wanting to go with this.
Oh, well, just wherever it goes. I'm not trying to direct it. I'm just trying to give it an open forum of non-judgmental talk that people can people can be free to be who they are and be honest about it and be open about it without the perceived thoughts of what people are going to say or do to them.
So let's first clarify what it is exactly. When you say it
can be any
subject
that, it can be anything. Well, the most common one is that I can think of off the top of my head that's just recently is one of our constituents.
Constituents? What is that?
that is obviously putting a front of who he really is, putting out a front, and not being honest because of the judgment that people will put out there.
So why do you care what he's doing?
I just was saying it. It's just an observation that I made.
Oh.
And that is what I'm talking about, is they alter who they are and not being true to themselves or others and being honest about it due to the fact of what people will think, do, or say.
I see.
And, it's a common topic in, you asked about the, why I was using the homosexual examples. Mm. And that is, that's the number one thing. We watched that RuPaul Drag Race, and on there they would talk about how they wouldn't come out because of what their parents would think or blah, 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 blah. And then when they do come out, they find out their parents really didn't care. And so that's why that topic comes into play.
I see.
And so where do we,
I'm letting you have the floor, man. I'm letting you.
Well, this is Dr. Jenny too here. What's going on? You're just like shut down over there over a situation that happened.
Whoa, chill. I'm not shut down. I'm letting you talk it through and get to the place where you're trying to get. Okay, so how do you work yourself through it?
I'm still working through this scenario. It's not that I'm bringing. I have no answers. Because all I'm doing is trying. I'm trying to set it up to where I can work through the process of being who I am when it comes to like the scenario that we're dealing with. Why did I alter off of who I am and be more worried about what they're going to think instead of just putting the facts out on the table?
Okay, so if we go deep and we go all the way to the core of that kind of behavior that people are having, it is all culminated into one word. And it's a fear-based program.
I agree.
It's the fear that somebody's going to think something. It's a fear that we're going to lose something, such as our job, our relationship. It's a fear that we're going to receive negative consequences or get reprimanded. It is a fear-based mentality that if I divulge this information or if I act and behave as my true authentic character at this time, there will be some sort of negative consequence that I have to experience that is more uncomfortable to experience, pain and pleasure, than what it is to just hide it and pretend like I'm somebody else. Now, that's the core issue. It's fear-based. Then we come up a level and begin to research and dig around what are the layers that we've laid on top of that core belief. What is the soil that we've laid on top of that seed that's growing? And for each individual, those layers are going to look a little bit differently. And you brought up the homosexual idea. And so if we go on that topic, because like you said, there's many topics that this happens in. It all basically boils down to the same kind of characteristic traits. If I'm afraid that people are going to not like me anymore or not accept me into the tribe, or I'm going to lose my job, or I'm going to lose my social network because I divulge that I have a sexual preference that's opposite of what the societal gender requirement is, the fear is that I'm going to be alone. I'm not going to have any social network. There's nobody out there that has the same thought that I do. And there's no other social network that is my tribe, so to speak. But it's kind of that way on any topic. It's a fear of losing something that you currently have because those people won't see it the same way. Or it's a fear of being made fun of or being judged or being chastised for behaving in such a manner, or it's a fear of maybe losing your job because you've brought something to the table that you think the company is not going to be open to, or that your boss is not going to be open to. It's just fear-based. It's fear-based. And so you work through that just like you do anything else. You do what I just did, which is to acknowledge that it's fear-based. And I'm a journaler, man, so I'm always going to say, get your journal out. Write down the fear. It's fear. Then take the topic, homosexual. Okay, what am I afraid will happen if I am experiencing life in my true, authentic way of desiring a different gender in my life and wanting to dress in the opposite gender way? What am I afraid is going to happen? And write down worst case scenario. And if it's like, if one of the statements is, I'm afraid that people are going to think bad about me. Okay, what can you do about that? Well, you can do one of two things. You can take on the notion of, so what? I don't care what people think. I'm going to be who I am. And if they have a problem with it, if they're offended, it's their beliefs, patterns, and programs they have to work on. And perhaps that's not the person I want to hang out with. Or you can go on an experimental journey and you go to that person and you share with them, listen, I am homosexual and I'm just curious. I'm doing an experiment and I want to interview you on, what do you think about me knowing that I am that? Because I'm, you can play a game with it. Or if it's a closer family member, you just come to a place and say, hey, I'm homosexual. I've been hiding it because I'm afraid you think that I am some negative something. And so what do you really think? And be completely honest with me. That way you get to decide what you want to be and do in it. They get to decide what they want to be doing it. And trusting that it's going to feel really good to be able to get rid of that baggage that you're toting around, because you may find, just like you said, the parents didn't really care. But that individual was creating this story that they did care. And the story then grew from there that not only do they care, but they're going to disown me and out me, and I'm not going to get to be a part of the family anymore. And the story just went on and on and on. And the findings were that he was creating a story that was an absolute lie.
Well, you see, with me, what I've identified in this perception of what we are dealing with here is, I ask myself, why did I alter who I am in explaining this? And my only answer was because it will change the way they view us. And the reality is I don't really know how they view us. And so I've created the story in my head of how they view us.
Right.
And so then I have a fear of losing this idea that's in my head that I have created that I really don't know how we're viewed.
Right.
But I have a fear of losing that when I really don't even know if that's true. So do I really have it in the first place?
Right.
And that's where, but getting to the point of the why. But why did I allow myself to create this story where I feel like that when I tell them what's going on or whatever, that it changes how they view us when I don't even know for sure how they view us. And so I'm getting to the point of the why. Why did I create what I feel like that they viewed us as prior to this when I don't even know if it's true? And so I'm at the point of why. Why did I create the fictitious story in my head that's not proven?
Well, sometimes we create a fictitious story because that is a form of goal setting. It's a form of daydreaming. It's a form of creating a reality and then moving towards that goal. And so sometimes it is a positive thing. If you create, and I'm going to just use us for an example. If we create this thought that we are seen as, the number one managers in the company, and we do all of these wonderful things, and some of them maybe have not even come to fruition, that's a form of holographic daydreaming, so to speak, of goal setting. And so then because the best way that it works when you're creating your reality or aligning with a reality that you've put into existence is daydreaming yourself there without an expectation and an insistence that it must turn out that way. And what we teach is talk about what you want it to look like and how you've daydreamed that it looks like so that you can better come in alignment with that, right?
Right.
And so if you're creating a story of, we beat all of our numbers, we are number one in the company when it comes to all of the statistical numbers, we're 100%, that's just you verbally putting yourself in a frequency that aligns with that reality that you want. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Unless you take it in the direction that you took it, which is, okay, so I've had this thing happen. And if I share the trueness of exactly all of the intricate details of what happened, then this perspective that I've created that I think they see me as will be modified in such a way that I will have to experience negative results of that. And so then you'll modify how you tell the story or how you give the information to them so that you don't change that because you're afraid of a potential consequence that you might experience by giving all the details or telling what's actually happening fully and completely. You'll leave out details, or omit information or not talk about it at all, not tell at all. And that happens in any kind of relationship, whether it be work relationships, personal relationships, friends, whatever. That's how that kind of comes about.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. The parameters within that I have been operating within are based on my perception of an assumed perception, and that is not a correct way of operating through life.
It's not that it's not correct. It's okay to daydream.
Yeah.
It's just not okay to then modify how you naturally would be based on that holographic daydream, especially if it causes you not to be open and honest, and that's what you're wanting to be.
Yes. Okay. I get it. And the perception of it, like our example that we're talking about, I use those a lot when I say and do the things like the examples you've made, like we're the number one managers in the company, yada, yada. That is for me more of putting the energy out there because I know what you put out, you get out, and it's about intention setting.
Right. Exactly.
Even though I have been told by our former previous superior,
right,
that we are anomalies.
And that we're looked at very highly by the company, for sure. But before we openly got to that place, you and I would write our story verbally to each other that way to generate that energy, to embrace that frequency, finding what that feels like so that we can align with that reality, because that's something that we wanted to happen.
Right.
And so you it's almost like giving yourself permission not to really face reality, because reality is old news. I got to go rabbit hole for just a second. Okay. So the rabbit hole of all of this is the actual reality that you sit here and you're looking at was created based on the beliefs you used to have maybe 2 minutes ago, maybe 2 days ago,
Yeah.
whatever.
This reality right now that we're living in was created in the history.
Right. It was created from the frequency of what you previously were experiencing or the beliefs that you were running. The minute you change a belief pattern program or you change your perception, that reality is a whole new reality that you can choose to line up with or not.
Yeah.
And so it is perfectly okay to talk about the things that you want to see come into the new reality and not face reality, the current reality that you're in, because it's old news.
Yeah.
It's the manifestation of what you used to see and believe. And so when I say I never face reality, that's what I mean. Like the current situation I'm sitting in, whatever it may be, I don't give a lot of focus to that. No, I'm human. So there's times when I have meltdowns if it's not comfortable. But I have to remind myself, this is already done. It's already over.
You have to mind, what did you say?
I have to remind myself that this is already done and this is going to pass. And that what I'm creating is the new reality coming my way.
Yeah, I agree.
And so it's not like you're telling yourself a lie. It's not like you're saying a lie when you, like, for instance, you and I having those conversations in the past of, we're 100%, we're the top managers in the building, when we would have that conversation amongst us. And the reason we had it between the two of us in the beginning is because when you're sharing it with other people and it's not the reality they see, it can appear like you're lying.
Yeah.
And nobody likes the energy of that.
Right.
So you can talk with your partner or a good friend or write it down on a piece of paper, the reality that your goal, your plan to align with on a piece of paper, defining exactly what you want it to look like. It's no different than telling that story and becoming that verbally.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's all that's happening. And it's not a bad thing to do.
Right. And so that's where we've got to kind of do a little plot twist with people that are listening so they will understand more that you have to give yourself the permission to be who you are and act the way you want to act within your own beliefs. When you have a fear that pops up that's causing a bump up against place, stop and look at the story behind it. Like I have an example of a gentleman that is a military vet, very proud, decorated vet of the military, but because of the war it was in, he hides it.
Oh, because he's embarrassed of
the actions that he caused because of a perception that he thinks that everybody will view of him.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And
it's very common.
It is. It's a big deal, and people alter their lives every day because of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it can be a domino theory or a domino effect of repercussions and perceptions that change, and becoming aligned with who you are, no matter what your history is. Remember, your history. They say your history defines who you are. I don't believe that. I believe that your beliefs that you carry right now define who you're going to become. And when you have a history of
your history can define who you are if you choose to bring that history with you into your new reality.
Oh, I agree with that, but I'm talking about for the common person that doesn't identify that. Like when this particular gentleman, he doesn't identify with spiritual beliefs or any of that kind of stuff. He just believes that what he did was so embarrassing, and the way he got treated when he came back home, he is embarrassed to tell people, that he's this decorated war veteran from the Vietnam War. And because of what he thinks people are going to think, do, and say to him.
Yeah.
And like I told him, is you don't know until you ask. And so that's where I was going next in this, is why I use this example, is I told him, have you even asked anybody, what they think of it? Go talk to one of the fellow veterans that were in that war and see what they think.
Right.
Give yourself the permission to ask questions, to create a different perception of the story.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at with this stuff in the shower this morning. I was thinking is where do I need to identify this at, and why did I allow myself to create this version in my head? And that's where it is it comes from a fear.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from maybe former history,
Right.
how people react.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from monkey mind. It comes from many different things, and it can come from other people's monkey minds. Mm-hmm. And that creates a reality or an environment that causes you to alter who you are.
Or how you behave.
Or how you behave.
Yeah. I get all the time, I have people come up to me and say, you're such an inspiration because you just do and dress and be whatever. And I just wish I could be that way. And I do. I mean, I'll wear some of the craziest ass shit. I'll do some crazy shit to my hair. I'll just do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't ever, for the most part, there are topics you and I do that with, that I still am a work in progress.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I just do me in it. And when you practice that habit and you get to a place, it's very freeing. And then it just becomes a new habit. And so you just, hey, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I remember a time when I would dress a certain way to be accepted into a group, or laugh at something I didn't find funny, or, I would do certain things that were not authentic. And I was just I came to that place of where you're at. And I'm like, I'm going to just do me because that feels right. It feels better. Mm-hmm. Because when I would behave in ways that were not authentic, I would check in with my emotional guidance system, EGS, and I would feel yucky for doing it.
Right.
It wouldn't even be pleasurable.
And I find myself holding back.
Yeah.
Like there's a certain situation right now in our work environment that about, that I want to go up on the roof and scream on the mountaintop that this person that's in our reality is a complete and utter liar.
Yeah.
And I want to tell everybody.
Right.
And I hold myself back because it's not there's many different parameters, but I think the main thing is it's not my job to change that person's reality, and not my job to expose.
Well, the reality is that you can't change their reality necessarily, but if it doesn't feel like it's you go back to your EGS, emotional guidance system, and if it doesn't feel right to do that, then it's not time to do that.
Right, I agree.
And it may not be at time,
and it may not ever be.
Right,
it may not ever be.
Because if you're doing things like that from, an angry place,
from any emotion,
revengeful place, and not from a guided place of, I know this is the right thing to do, it will feel much different. And I'll give you an example. We had an employee that performed an act. And I am not generally a manager who enjoys or gets any enjoyment out of having to relieve somebody of their job duties while they work under me.
Yeah, we don't like to change anybody's reality.
We're very much giving people a chance and to learn and grow, and so we don't tend to be canners.
Yeah, or these staunch managers.
But I recently had this experience where I had to make that decision. Mm-hmm. And because I knew spiritually that it was time for her to go on a different journey, because I checked in with it. And this is kind of rabbit hole and it's a little bit advanced, our interaction of why we really came together in the guise of, or in the perception of, she came here to work for me. Mm-hmm. That was the kind of surface idea. But the underlying idea spiritually is that we had a contractual agreement that I was going to play a character she was going to learn and grow from. And because of that and my understanding of that level of what's going on, I was completely at peace on my emotional guidance system and it wasn't.
Well, it was obviously a divine flow because
right.
the actions that took place.
It wasn't a pleasant thing.
Right. The actions that
means.
took place, her actions, your actions, everybody's actions, were obviously there for a reason. And that was like an obvious thing because it was so off the wall and so crazy that you almost couldn't believe it.
Well, and what I'm saying is, you know that you're doing what you're doing, even if it looks like or feels like, gosh, I hate that this is having to go on, or I don't know. Wow, what was that? A blip, blip, blip. That's all, folks. I don't necessarily enjoy dismissing people under my command, so to speak. That's not something that's enjoyable. I don't get pleasure out of that.
Right.
So, but what I know is that in this particular situation, I checked in with it as I do with all things. And I knew that this decision was the decision, and it was time for me to follow through with releasing this person from the job. And
it was also obviously your
on.
responsibility because I had zero feelings in it. I was just kind of neutral in the situation.
Yeah. And so that's one of the ways that you will, as we use us to teach people, how do you know when things are what they are, and how do you know when they're not?
Right.
So for me, I knew that it was in mine and her journey for me to play this character of releasing her of her holographic job responsibility. And even though it was a little bit of an unpleasant series in the play, I knew that this was the right decision. And so therefore, I didn't have guilt. I didn't have yucky feelings within it. I was at peace with the decision that I'd made. There was I didn't do it from a place of resentment.
Personal. Right.
I didn't do it from a place of anger. I didn't do it from a place of any other emotion, except I just knew that it was time and this was our agreement. And I moved forward because I checked in with my emotional guidance system and I was at peace with the decision.
Well, and humanly, the actions were against company policy. So
the knowing that it wasn't your cue card to step up and play, and it wasn't you that was supposed to do it, comes from you checking in with your emotional guidance system and saying, I'm neutral in this.
Yeah, I'm very neutral.
Like,
I was very neutral in it.
I don't get any kind of guidance on, I should do it, I shouldn't do it. She can stay, she can go. And so there was no nudge necessarily for you to go any direction in it.
Yeah,
and that's how you guys can know what part you're playing in any of this,
right,
is you check in with that emotional guidance system and don't make decisions from those lower level vibrational frequency emotions like anger, resentment. Check in with it, sit with it. And when you know it's the right thing, even if it's having to fire somebody, you'll still feel at peace.
Yeah, I think another topic we need to carry on in this is, how does it feel when you do be yourself?
Yeah.
And how rewarding it can feel and how good it feels on the inside, how releasing of energy it can be.
How light.
Light, that's a good way.
And
light and
free.
airy. Light and airy to be who you are.
Yeah, when you release that baggage that's not yours, then so how it works is, if you have a topic and you've created this mindset that other people think this way, you've basically taken on a piece of heavy luggage that's not even yours.
Right.
So you're carrying that around. And when you're carrying around a vibrational frequency that's not yours, it is very heavy. And so the minute you come to a place of awareness and the willingness to release it, then it aligns you back with your natural frequency and you feel very free. You feel very light, very airy, and it feels good.
Yeah, totally.
It feels really good.
We have, as humans, have this habit a lot that we do, and we use it to manipulate our own environment And most of the time it's involuntary, and that is that perceived story that we create.
Say more.
Say, for example, I was in a pretty terrible marriage for a very long time.
Mm.
And because I perceived what other people would think of me if I ended that relationship, even though that relationship was done many years before I actually left.
Right.
I just continued to put myself humanly into a situation that was not happy, not healthy for anybody, because of the stories that I thought, people would create in their own head. And some of that has come true. Those stories were created, but I felt so much better when I just walked away.
And what you came to the realization was that even though they created the stories, nothing bad happened to you.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's the other piece of it is whenever we're creating this story, the way that mechanism works, called the monkey mind, is we create this story to keep ourselves away from doing a thing that we think is going to be worse than the situation we're in.
Right. They
Pain
say
and
the
pleasure.
pain, when the pain of getting out of it is greater, or the pain of getting out of it or the pain of staying in it is greater than the pain of getting out of it. And that's when we start changing things.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so that mechanism, your monkey mind will keep creating little tidbits of story of, okay, well, if you do that, what if it does this? And what if it does that?
Oh my God, this is going to happen.
And then it's going to be, I'm going to be all alone, and I'm going to be a social stigma, and nobody's going to want to even touch me because I have some contagious disease,
and our
I'm
monkey
going to
mind
be
can
alone.
be so maximizing.
Yeah, but that's by design.
You're right.
You know, the monkey mind is there to serve a purpose.
Create a big dramatic story.
Well, yeah, because you know, on a rabbit hole forum, it's there to keep a reality created so that we can learn and grow.
Yes.
If we are living through this life knowing that we are this powerful being and that none of this is real, then we don't have quite that authentic and that visceral experience on the human level.
Yes.
And so by design, it has to continue to try and keep itself as real as possible.
I agree. The monkey mind plays such a big part in this topic.
It really does.
And, I think the message I want to give out in our podcast today is giving people the permission to, if they have this story created, to ask why.
Yeah. Explore.
And go communicate about it. And ask, just go ask somebody.
Yeah. And I would say that the other part of it is if you're not there yet, if you're not at a place where you can actually go to that person and say, hey, I want to know what you think about this. Then explore your own self.
Yeah, I agree.
Use that time when you've come to the aware place that it's happening. You know that you're modifying your true authentic behavior because you have this underlying fear of what people are going to think or what's going to happen. And you're not ready to really go and confront that person or those people. You can't really get there.
Right.
At least do some research on yourself and dig around in it. Why am I afraid? What am I afraid of? What am I afraid that's going to happen? And research that and write it down. And then
be prepared for your monkey mind to prove your thoughts, because like this happens, these kind of things will happen where you may have one topic and you've created this perceived story, and then you interact with others, and then you hear them making judgmental comments or doing judgmental things, and our monkey mind will take that and say, "See, I told you so." They'll go through that issue, like our tattoos on our arm sleeves. We hear people all the time, "Oh my God, I would never do that."
Oh, well, then it leaves more ink for me because I love doing it.
Right. Well, but our monkey mind takes that information and feeds into saying.
But do you know why it does that?
No.
Would you like to know why?
Sure.
So the reality that we live in, that we've created, if you can think about it this way, it is basically a mirror reflecting back to you what you're still hanging on to or what you could still work on if you were wanting to continue to work on something.
Okay.
And so it's kind of a test of, have I let that go? What is the next thing I can work on? What is it that I'm still reflecting out to the universe on a frequency level. And so then it bounces that back to you through your reality as kind of a mirror. So if you're working on that topic and you're having people come into your reality that are enforcing. I was waiting for the word. There was a wee bit of a glitch in the channeling.
Maria.
As I channel the information, there sometimes are glitches. Anyway, if you are actually wanting to evolve and grow in this topic, the reality that's in front of you will reinforce what you're still running, the patterns, programs, and beliefs that you're still running.
What you're doing, yeah,
right. And so the example you gave is just the universe or the guide or whoever you work with showing you that, hey, you still have a bit of this that you're running in your reality. And that's why you're having people come across your reality that are still talking about or whatever. You still have a little bit of that belief running around. And so if you choose to, you might want to look at it and
can you tell me?
Put it in the trash.
Can you tell me what it means to have a splinter pop up on your finger when you haven't done any woodworking in probably 8 or 10 years?
Of course.
Because I have a splinter that just popped up on one of my fingers. It's driving me insane. And it hasn't, I haven't touched a piece, did any woodworking for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's there.
It is representative or symbolic of a belief that is ready to come to the surface and come out that has been a burr in your saddle for quite a long time.
Interesting. That's what a splinter means.
That's what it's representative of.
Yep. Anyway, hey, I feel pretty good. So basically, before we end this, I want to tell everybody it's okay to be who you are, what you are, and how you are. And if you want to change your reality, change your beliefs right now and move forward, right?
Yeah, because whatever beliefs you're running right now, whatever perception you're running right now is the reality that you're creating for your tomorrow.
Yes. Totally agree with that statement.
So what the reality that you're witnessing today was created from the beliefs that you had a while ago.
A while ago?
A while ago.
A while ago? Is that an animal? Can I get a while ago?
It's an animal now.
Welcome to McDonald's. Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order, please? Can I get a while ago? Can you?
What is that? What does a while ago look like?
Can you make Biggie that?
I need a McBiggie while ago.
Can I get a big McBiggie while ago?
Yeah, and does that come equipped with a leash and collar? Because I want to pick. I would like to have a lime green.
I would like to have the pink while ago, please.
Yes.
Can I get a pink while ago with a leash? Yes, I would like to Biggie size that.
That's perfect. I'm going to create a while ago. I'm going to decide what.
Oh, I did that a while ago.
I'm going to decide what that looks like. And I'm going to put it on a shirt.
Yeah, there you go. I got a while ago.
I'm going to create a whole new creature.
This is my while ago. Ask me about it.
What's your while ago's name? Yesterday.
Would you help me name my while ago?
My while ago's name is Yesterday.
My while ago name was 10 minutes. 10 minutes while ago.
I also have one called 5 Minutes.
5 minute while ago.
Her brother's name is 5 Minutes. 5 minutes while ago.
Hey guys, we appreciate y'all. And we're glad that you tune into the spiritual grind.
Yeah.
Continue to follow, and share. And if you have any questions, comments, anything, look us up online at www.themerckcenters.org. And we are on social media. And you watch for Dr. Jenny's monthly herbal advice, and sometimes weekly. It depends. Sometimes she does
information.
It's just information.
It's not medical advice.
No.
It's just information.
It's just herbal information about herbs and how they can be beneficial to your life.
Yeah. And the disclaimer is that it's not medical advice. It's just for education.
That is correct. All right.
And reach out to your doctor before you start taking anything. I think that's what the little disclaimer says that
Does it?
they have to put in place.
Oh, okay. Well, and check in with it. How about that? That's a better idea.
And
I
we
think.
are so open and receptive to conversating about any topic. We love what we do.
It's Jeep Week.
It is Jeep Week.
We're going to go to
getting our
Jeep Beach.
ducks in a row.
We were just at Jeep Beach last weekend. We're taking the motor coach to Jeep Beach this weekend.
Yeah.
So
Getting our ducks in a row.
I don't know if this will be posted by then, but if you see the yellow Willys Gladiator, then that's probably us. And be listening for the loud music and the ducks to fly.
When ducks fly.
All right, don't forget to like, follow, share, and
Ring that bell.
have an awesome day.
Love ya.